There are 3 stories that come to mind. Okay. I don't know which one really qualifies as best, worst, or weirdest.
One of those days where I was like, this was not a part of my seminary education.
When I retire, I'm going to write a book called The Best Things Happen at Communion.
Are you sharing one?
This is Pod Strangely Warmed, a place where we tell the good Methodist story, where we have conversations that invite followers of Jesus to seek after that loving, just, and free world that God imagines for us all, and have a little fun along the way. Hey, Pod Strangely Warm family, and happy New Year's Eve. It has been a great year here on Pod Strangely Warm. We've had amazing guests from across the totality of the Horizon Texas Conference. And one of the things we'd love to do each time we had our guests in the studio was to ask them, what is the best, worst, or weirdest moment you've experienced in ministry? Today's episode is a compilation episode of those best, worst, and weirdest moments from across the ministry of the Horizon Texas Conference. It was a heck of a lot of fun to record, and I hope you enjoy it.
I'm always saying to my business admin, I'm like, we've got to write a book, because people would never believe this. But I think I put those stories away somewhere so I can continue to do what I do. Because now I can't remember.
Just block
but
it.
I know I say
block.
It once a week. Got to put this in the book.
So weddings, funerals, mission trips, communion.
Yeah, I mean, the weirdest was definitely knocking a kid's tooth out in Costa Rica.
Okay, tell us the story.
All right, tell us the story. So
I never thought I would be potentially sued as a youth pastor.
Fair enough.
Yeah. However, on a mission trip one time in Costa Rica, our tradition was the last work day, we'd all go back to the hotel and just jump in the pool. Gross, nasty, that poor pool. But the kids at one point were like we were throwing kids in the pool, right? But like it wasn't like we're chasing you down and like they were voluntarily coming. Doesn't make it any better. There were 4 of us, 2 of us.
Legally, it might matter.
It might matter. 2 staff people and then 1 college intern and 1 youth. So 4 appendages. Like we were like rocketing these kids into the pool. And I had the front right arm, and it was like 1, 2, and on 2 my hand slipped, and he just face planted into the concrete. And I thought I just destroyed this kid's entire face the way it sounded. But when I finally like turned back to look at him, he just was like, oh, and 1 front tooth had came out, the whole thing, root and all, just popped out. So we're in Costa Rica, and it's after hour, it's like, I don't know, 5 or 6 p.m. or whatever. And so the sweet hotel staff were like, we know a dentist. We will get on the phone with the dentist. And so luckily we had a nurse who was also on staff with us. And so he took this child, they wrapped it in milk, and you put it under your tongue. Apparently there's a whole protocol around if you lose a tooth.
Wrap it in milk, put it under your tongue.
Wrap it in like a paper towel or something. Put it in milk. And put it on your tongue. And so they took him to some random dentist in the middle of northern part of Costa Rica and put his tooth back in. Little wobbly, but put it in where it could stay there until we got back to the States. To which then, about a month later, we thought we'd followed up, and like the church was like, obviously we'll pay for the dental bills, whatever, to get it fixed. And then a couple months after that, they came back and said they were going to sue us because they wanted the church to pay for his dental bills for the rest of his life. And the church was like, yeah, our lawyers were like, we're not gonna do that, but we're happy to if there's something else that's come up, then to get fixed. And they're like, well, it's still growing, he's still growing. And I kid you not, in the midst of all this deliberation, the kid took a lacrosse ball to the face and shattered his jaw. Look, I didn't feel good about that, but it did happen. And I didn't get fired. The bad thing was when I heard they were suing me, I said, I think biblically I'm supposed to send them my second shirt, so if I put a shirt in the mail to them, will I get in trouble for that? And they said, yes. So I didn't send them a second shirt.
I'm never sending my kids with Phil anywhere, ever.
That may be a good choice.
I think that is a good choice.
But, I mean, I'm thinking as a parent, right? You don't want your kid to get hurt on mission trip. You don't want your kid to get hurt at camp.
For sure.
100%. Is it a part of the accepted realm of possibility?
I think so.
When you send them?
I think it's in a line somewhere on the permission slip.
Look, the fact that nobody died on any of our
That's
ships
what
is
I
proof
say.
that God
but
exists,
did they
I'm pretty
die?
sure.
No, they're home. Yeah. I don't think I have a story that rivals that.
Not a competition.
My only story, I have this one interesting person who is not a church member. They're a friend of our church. That's the way they call themselves. I I could get into that. But anyways, they brought me over to their apartment one time to see some photography that they had done. And 2 hours later, I had to send an SOS text to my business admin and got out of that. But they came by the church about 8 months later. This was just recently. They came by the church. And they said they sat down in my office without any meeting, just came in, sat down at the desk. And I was like, oh, it's so good to see you. It's been so long since it's so good to see you. And they said nothing, but just said, I need to know if you're joining the resistance. And I said, I think I knew what they meant, but I just said, resistance to what?
Is this the Hunger Games?
This deserves a clarifying question. Absolutely.
And basically it was, are you going to be a part of, with whatever happens in the next year or two, are you going to be a part of the resistance to sort of the empire taking over? And I was like, well, yeah. I mean, yeah. This person said, good. If you ever need me, I need you to text or call asking me to go chase the waterfall.
There's a code language?
I don't know if it's just this person's code language, if it's a universal code language of the new resistance forming, but I could not help but to break out into the TLC song.
Well, of course. Are they
Don't
TLC
Go Chasing
fans?
Waterfalls.
Yeah,
No, this person is very old. But anyways, it was just one of those days where I was like, this was not a part of my seminary education to know codes and whether or not
Whether you should chase waterfalls.
whether I should chase waterfalls into the resistance army.
Rest in peace, Left Eye. That's amazing.
Yeah. So just church is a weird place.
Did you ever call on them?
What?
Did you call the person and say?
Not yet. I
There's still
haven't
time.
needed to yet. But maybe one day.
I'm partially curious as to how they would show up.
Yeah, right.
I would also like to know. So randomly, if I'm having a slow day in the office, I may just text, let's go chase waterfalls
Now,
and see what happens.
Bring the camera.
It'll be a whole episode.
oh wow.
Episode on location.
I love it. Can I say one of my best things about ministry
Sure,
too?
absolutely. Yes.
So I love doing weddings. It's one of my favorite things.
Yeah.
You are like the
They're
wedding
awesome.
And
pastor.
I just love it
extraordinaire.
because I feel like the world would be a better place if we had more dance floors. And so
Amen.
I'm the whole package, right? We'll do the premarital stuff. I tell them to get a counselor because they need a counselor. But then we'll do the premarital work. We'll do the wedding. And then I'm there for the reception. I'm all for it, right? Get me on the dance floor. But I've kind of become known now. I split 3 pairs of pants at weddings. And so I now do a wardrobe change between the ceremony and I bought a pair of Lulu pants.
No.
And I wear Lulu because it's usually dark. You can't
Yeah.
tell, right? Slacks versus Lulu
Oh,
pants.
my goodness.
Lulu has their stretchy ones.
Yeah.
So I put those on between so that I don't tear my pants anymore because it was becoming not financially viable to do weddings because the pants are more expensive than what I was usually getting paid to do a wedding. So
Do you charge them extra to get their dance party started at their reception?
only if I tear my pants. I'm just kidding.
Amazing.
I should.
You should.
Weddings are the best.
I love them. They're so
Yeah.
fun.
I judge weddings
weddings.
based on what car just got driven off a cliff.
What?
Right. So
Sorry, what?
is it a Geo Metro wedding? Is it a Chevy wedding? Is it a BMW wedding? How much money did they spend on this wedding that you functionally drove the car off a cliff? You just
yeah, that's true.
But isn't it what happened, right? If you're going to spend $50K on a wedding, you're not getting any of that back, right? That food, you've had a wonderful experience, it's great, all that, but you've just drove a BMW off a cliff. That's functionally what has happened. And the only time I've been stiffed at a wedding
Is a BMW.
was a BMW wedding.
100% always happens. Always happens that way.
To go off your metaphor, I did a wedding one time where it was like a Maserati wedding.
Okay, yeah,
and
yeah.
They spent more money on the flowers than what I made in an entire year. They had brought trees in. There were legit trees in. They had the UT alumni band that came and played.
Okay, yeah.
It was 2 lawyers. The dad of the bride was the head of the UT law firm or whatever.
Okay.
It was. But they did actually pay me, so
Hey,
That's good.
But I like your metaphor though. I'm gonna keep running with that.
Hey, that's
This one wasn't a funny story, but just really quickly,
Yeah.
I am doing a data analysis of this. What's the longest you've ever had an open casket after a death?
Oh God.
I didn't realize that this was now something I needed to worry about, but it's a new level of
I don't know that I've had one within that for a funeral that is more than like 7 days,
Okay.
maybe 10.
Well, new fear, unlocked. I'll just prepare you for this. I had a wife from out of state who would like me to do a local because, anyways, bodies being then brought to Texas to bury.
Yeah.
And so they did the funeral a month after he passed up in Connecticut.
Okay.
And then we're coming down here a month later in month 2 to do the funeral here. I said, well, lovely. We start planning
Reasonable.
everything, blah, blah,
Yeah.
blah, blah. We get to a couple days before. And she said, well, will you arrive about 30 minutes before? She goes, I'm going to go in and check the body to see if we can have it be open casket. And I said, come again? It had been 2 months and 2 days since this man had passed away.
No.
And I kid you not, we had an open casket.
No.
He looked great. He really did. Whoever their embalmer was deserves a raise. But 2 months and 2 days later.
Oh, Lord.
And he had traveled from Connecticut to Texas. And he looked great. But anyways, new fear unlocked.
You said you had something?
Yeah, I'm gonna lead with the worst. I'm gonna set the bar real low so that you guys can do best and weirdest or whatever comes to mind. But so during the Methodist March Madness that is appointment season, I get this phone call. I've been serving in Monday for 4 years as their pastor, and the district superintendent calls and says, there's this church in Stanton, Texas that needs some pastoral leadership, and we see those gifts in you. And so that opportunity was presented, and my wife and I prayed about it and said yes to that. And so we went to Stanton, or we agreed to go to Stanton, and then 3 weeks later, the entire country shut down. And so that 2020 era, and so we moved through the pandemic, which was hard for our family. Spent a lot of time getting to know parishioners because I had a folding camping chair that I would set on their front porch and talk to them through their screen door. And that's how I met this new church family that God has, called me to be part of. But that's happening. If that's not hard enough, right? We're all trying to become televangelists. We're all everything that was so hard about that 2020 year. The fact there was no toilet paper, like everything about that. I get there in July, and in October, my business administrator and I bust our children's ministry director for embezzling from the church about $24,000. That was the worst that I had ever encountered. I was so far out of my depth. Young preachers, the benefit is they have no baggage.
Yeah.
The downside is they don't know what to do with those kind of like crises. And so this is the first appointment where the staff is more than Benji Van Fleet. And so, I can hold myself accountable, no problem. But what does this even look like? And you get people from the ad board who come to your office in the morning and say, if you don't press charges on her, then that's just poor stewardship. We're setting a precedent that anybody can steal from the church. I can't be a part of a church that does that. You just need to know that right now. Then have lunch with my wife and say, well, that was awful. And then come back, and after that afternoon, people say, same thing. Other ad board members who come in and then say, if you guys press charges on her, like we're supposed to be different. We're supposed to follow Christ, who says forgive 70 times 7. I can't be part of a church that wants to be this aggressive and can't be forgiving and find mercy. And so if y'all press charges, I'm sorry, my family's out. And I thought, Lord, what have you done? This is
welcome to ministry.
Horrible. All I wanted to do was figure out a good way for us to have communion and still stay 6 feet apart, And so, they don't have classes in seminary that talk about this too much, except, don't do this. Right.
The ethics class says this is bad.
Yeah. So the saving graces that happen, having a phenomenal district superintendent, having a connection, being able to reach out, make some phone calls to say, hey, I'm out of my depth. I needed to own that. I needed to own that I'm not okay with the fact that I don't know what to do here. But having peers in the clergy connection who unfortunately have gone through the worst too. And were so gracious with their time, clearing their calendar, coming in person, meeting with me, hearing things through. And then it got us engaged with the community in finding a way to reconcile those two seemingly irreconcilable positions, right? And so a beautiful thing happened where our justice of the peace in Stanton created what's called a judgment. And so it shows up on background checks and that kind of thing. But we worked out basically a payback plan, for that. Walking the SPRC through this, was a 4-hour SPRC meeting, which is wonderful. And no sense of that word. And being able to express to that staff member that we forgive you, we don't condemn you for what you've done. We just don't condone what you've done, and we can't allow that to continue, which is why you can't be here anymore.
Right.
But then having that judgment process to be able to structure out, have a third party keep it accountable to say, this director wants to pay it back. The church wants to not press charges, and so we're both accountable. Right. If they pay it back, we can't press charges. If they don't pay it back, we receive the right to press charges again. And we set it up in 7 years, and thankfully that employee was able to pay it back in 3. The church came together. The other thing that came from that bad stuff and horrible stuff was that our parents and our laity stepped up. And they started seeing and taking ownership of the ministries and children and youth there in that kind of vacuum. So, that's why I wanted to share the worst thing, because it turned out some really great things came out of that.
That's good.
I'll give you 2.
Okay.
I'll give you a worse, and I'll give you a funny. How about that?
Sounds good.
I'll give you a worse and a funny. So many times weddings and funerals become. And there was a period. I went back to serve in the church I grew up in. Right, my old home church. I was an associate pastor there, and there was a period where, when you're like younger clergy, you do a lot of weddings.
Oh, yeah.
Right? You just do a lot of weddings. And then all of a sudden you age out of that, and pretty soon you're not asked to do the weddings anymore. And then I'm getting to that age now where now I'm marrying the kids of people I married. Oh, that hurts, by the way. That really hurts. But
Todd is coming to grip with his age.
Yeah,
today.
that's right. I'm joining him with my haircut here. So there was a period, though, when I was back at that church that I was doing so many weddings. There was an 8-week period. I think I did 13 weddings. Ooh. And I thought, I'm going to get an Elvis suit and one of those like flatboard things you put out on the sidewalk, like Drive Up Chapel or something. One of the weddings I did, and this was, sometimes weddings become the event of the century, right?
Yeah.
And this particular wedding, I really wasn't scheduled to do. What my cousin's family, my aunt and uncle and my cousin, they had a friend who was getting married. My cousin was in the wedding, and the preacher got sick. And it was out at a golf course on the north side of Albuquerque. And so at the last minute, they asked if I'd come in and do that. And I refused to do any wedding that I didn't get to meet the couple. Right. So we did have a couple of meetings together, and it was a really, really nice young couple. Anyway, we go up the day of the wedding, and it's a golf course I'm really familiar with. Beautiful area. I've done weddings there before, and I went and visited with the bride and groom, saw them before the wedding and so forth, and we're about 5 minutes away from putting the ball up and playing, right?
Right.
And I'm getting ready to walk up the steps to where the bride and the bridesmaids are getting ready, and as I'm taking the first step, oh, by the way, it's like it's like 4 PM, dead of summer. They want me in a black robe. I am dying outside, man. I am dying. I'm walking up the steps, and as I'm taking like the first 3 or 4 steps, I hear somebody get on the PA, and it's the father of the bride. And he says, if everybody will belly up to the bar, first drink's on me. And I start stepping back like, wait a minute. We're like ready to go. Right?
Yeah.
All the groomsmen are over there, and they're standing in line. We're ready to march in. I walk over and, I tap the dad on the shoulder. I said, what? It's game time, man. And he goes, no, we somebody forgot to bring the ring bearer's tux. Ring bearer's like 3. And I said, well, what's the plan? He said, well, somebody went into town to go get it. And I said, that's like 40 minutes from here. And I said, when did they leave? He said, about 15 minutes ago. And I said, we're going to be an hour and a half late.
Right.
And he goes, yeah. And and I'm kind of, and my aunt and uncle are standing over there, and they're like, oh, geez. And I said, so have you told your beautiful daughter yet? And he goes, no, that's what you're here for.
Oh.
Remember that competitive piece I've talked about in the past? And so I said, well, I will be happy to deliver the news, because I needed to walk away anyway. It was so sharp the way he said it. So I made my way back to the steps, walked up. I get to the top of the steps. I'm waiting a moment before I knock on the door to gather myself. I finally knock on the door, and I can hear things in the background. My cousin opens the door, and she has this look on her face, and she's like, I am so sorry. I am so sorry. And I said, is everybody decent? She goes, yeah. And I walk in, and there are liquor bottles everywhere. And it's a big wedding, and they are schnockered. Schnockered. Except for the bride and my cousin. But the bridesmaids are...
They're gone.
They're gone.
Oh.
And I'm like, all right. And so I send somebody down to get, coffee and tea and water and all this stuff. And we start boxing up lots of empty bottles. And the bride is just in tears. And I'm like, she goes, I can't go out. Like I said, well, the good news is you have time.
Right. You got an hour and a half.
That's right. I deliver the news and whatever. So we... I really kind of had to remove myself a little bit to stay away for a bit. And the dad was passing the time. And so anyway, it gets time to do the ceremony, and they all come down. The girls are really having a hard time, except for my cousin and the bride. And we had to seat them. We couldn't. I mean, I said, we can't have you walk, because they can't walk straight. I have never set a fee to do a wedding. I've never asked for. It's just not. I just never have. Yeah. That's the only time ever in my ministry I thought I should have been paid for this one. Yeah. I couldn't get out of there fast enough. My uncle and my aunt and uncle were so embarrassed by what happened. They called me during the week at our church. And at church, and they asked, how everything went down and what happened. They said, well, hopefully, I'm not going to give you his name. He said, hopefully the guy at least, compensated or something. I said, no, I left. I said, we signed the marriage license, said, and that bride and groom were wonderful people, and I am so happy for them. I said, but I was gone. Well, Uncle John was so embarrassed by that. He wrote a $5,000 check to the church to say sorry. But so it all turned out, all right. And that bride and groom are still happily married. I run into them when I go into town. Dad and I probably aren't going to hang out in the near future.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you a funny one. When I was going through the candidacy process, that was back in the day when you still had probationary members, not provisional members, right?
Right.
So, and they'd love to put that on the church calendar, right? Todd's probationary committee meeting. Well, it sounded like he just got out of prison, right? Or no, your committee of concern. They called it a committee of concern. That's what it was called.
That's even better.
Yeah, exactly. I started worrying about me. We get to the end of that, and it's time for commissioning. And in our class of people being commissioned, we got up. We were doing it in Las Cruces, New Mexico. Bishop Whitfield is getting ready to go commission all of us. And at that point, Bishop Whitfield had no reason to know any of us from Adam. And we had our little name cards in front of us. And one of the guys that was in my class, his name was Todd as well. Mm-hmm. And we're right next to each other. So we're at the kneelers there, and we have our little card, and Bishop Whitfield is walking by, and he's, laying hands and doing the commissioning piece, and he gets to me and he said, Todd Ryan Salzwedel. So mine is Todd Ryan Salzwedel. He gets to the person next to me, and he pauses, and we all have our heads bowed. Well, I looked up, and he looks at my neighbor and I, and he goes, "Is this a joke?" My neighbor's friend name is Todd Ryan Seelau. So fast forward a few years, that church, this church, my home church, I'm serving in that home church, and I was being appointed somewhere else. So we made the announcement one Sunday. The next Sunday, we're announcing my replacement, and I said, "Well, the person who's coming in is a friend of mine." So his name, I said, "I'm Todd Ryan Salzwedel. He's Todd Ryan Seelau." And the church was like, "Oh no, we're gonna get you guys confused." Some of you may know Todd Seelau. Todd Seelau has real long hair, tattoos, the whole deal. And I said, "I promise you, you will never get Todd and I confused. I promise, never, 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 never."
Be just fine.
Great guy. So,
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So I had one, at my first appointment, it was a strange place. So it was an urban core appointment. So when you asked about like changing, I was like, I went from urban core to like suburban church planting. It was and it was a historic black church. There's so many things there. But anyway, communion, we used to have, our ushers would come up, right? Communion stewards would invite, after everyone received that could walk forward, we would go to people who couldn't make their way to the front, right? That's common practice. But there are also people, as you know, that have mobility issues when it comes to like their nerves. And so they can't receive it in their hands. So I would help put the elements in someone's mouth. Fine. That's all well and good. But there was one Sunday where, a woman I would always help get the elements close to her mouth, took my hand and shoved my fingers in her mouth. Needless to say, I was not the same after that. So I appreciate the senior saints, but also it was...
Okay, so when I was in seminary, I actually worked at a church in the Central Texas Legacy Conference. I worked at Trinity United Methodist Church at the old location, and I worked with a guy there that was a senior pastor by the name of Bob Richmond. Now, Bob's long since retired and passed away, so I think I can probably tell this story on him. Bob was an amazing person, amazing pastor, but he had actually fought in World War II and had lost hearing in one ear because he fought in the Battle of the Bulge. So always trying to be on Bob's correct side in terms of hearing was always a very interesting thing. But one day we were having communion, and we had some replacement communion stewards that day, and they used to always cut the bread up into cubes. You didn't tear it. It was already in cubes. It was in a bowl. And they happened to use a loaf of bread that had caraway seeds in it. And so after they cut it up, it looked like these little black things were in the communion bread. And so we had it in a bowl, uncovered. Bob had not seen it. And as soon as we uncovered the bowl, Bob looked at me, and in his best whisper voice, he said, "What's that in the bread?" And nobody touched the bread that morning. There were lots of communion where people would take the bread and not the cup. This was a morning where everybody wanted the cup, not the bread.
Wow.
Oh, man.
What's that in the bread?
What's that?
Well, and he didn't have a whisper. He didn't know.
So I'll tell a story now of since you worked at Trinity.
Yeah.
So I grew up Church of Christ, and I was also in a Christian rock band, and we played at the Church of Christ next to Trinity there.
Oh, yeah. I know where that church was.
I'm sorry. You played at a Church of Christ?
I played bass guitar on the stage at a church.
But the instrumentation
I was
is...
saying, but you're playing an instrument.
It was not worship. It was a
Oh, okay. That
it
makes
was
so much
Friday
sense.
night like fun youth band thing.
Okay.
But yeah, I'm one of the few bands that ever played
Clearly.
in that Church of Christ. So since you know where it is and shared a parking lot and everything, it's
I think that's interesting that they allowed the music, but just not when it was worship. So it made sure that, okay, we're starting worship now, we're not. Wow, yeah.
That's interesting.
Park Road Church of Christ or something?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we did Intention at my wedding too.
Yeah.
And my wife's family and my family are not familiar with that.
Okay.
And so they just sat there saying, "You're gonna touch this bread and give it to me, right? And then you're gonna ask me to put my fingers in this juice and keep eating." And they were kneeling at the communion rail, and they were just laughing.
Yeah.
The whole entire time I was like, you thought every adult was a kid,
Right.
because they didn't know how to respond. They were not used to Intention at all.
Yeah, it's always fun to be with the folks that will try to wrestle the cup away.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
They're like, take this.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Yeah, so my dad had He's married for the third time now. And when he got married, it was my first year in my appointment. And so I flew up to New York to be a part of his wedding.
Yeah.
And he asked me to offer a blessing at the reception. So I get up to offer the blessing at the reception. And, newly out of seminary, I'm thinking I'm still in college. So they had what did they have? They had an open bar.
Okay.
For an hour or so before.
Yeah.
So I'm just going around enjoying myself. Before the reception, I'm just enjoying myself. Anyway, I get up there to pray. And my dad is sitting behind me at the table with his new spouse. And I'm just like, yeah, God, we thank you because we know you're a God of many chances. And I was like, you're the God of a first chance, the God of a second chance, the God of a third. And I hear Joshua right behind me. And I just like, let me move on. Let me move. And the whole room just dies of laughter.
Oh, that's funny.
I need that. I need him to send me that video. So anyway.
Oh, that's
It's out there
good.
somewhere.
It is out there somewhere. That's right.
He's got issues. It's his chances, not yours. I mean, you're just
Naming
out loud.
God say, that's right. We're being saved, what we talked about before.
Right. Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
I mean, it's always easiest to talk about the worst because they're so upfront in your head. So this past summer, I serve at a large congregation, and so we were prepping to take 150 people to Galveston for a week of service trip. And Hurricane Beryl had come in, but it had been 2 weeks outside of that, and we were getting ready to go. A lot of different nonprofits were so excited about the work we were going to do because now a lot of Galveston had been destroyed. 48 hours before we're set to leave the trip, Texas A&M Galveston emailed us. They did not call, saying they could not host us.
Fantastic.
They could not lodge us. So I've dealt with the youth pastor of, canceled vans before. I know how to rally. You
do it.
You do
It's
it.
just what you do.
Figure it out. Okay, where do I lodge 150 people? None of the hotels had power. So then I'm trying to stick together Airbnbs, seeing if I can make it work while also contemplating ministry safe. How are we going to do this? Okay, do we just cancel the trip? You cancel a trip. That's a big deal for a youth ministry because your culture for the year gets set on those trips.
Yeah.
100%. So then these Airbnbs start calling me to say that they too have no power and they have nothing to offer us and that now Galveston is now out of gas. So I'm sitting there. I called in our high school pastor, Desi Griffin. I was like, we're going to figure this out. What are we going to do? And he's like, I don't know what we're going to do. So I said, okay, take a moment. So I went under my desk and I cried. So no one knew. And then I rallied.
It's a spiritual practice.
It is a spiritual practice. And was calling them, okay, we're going to do it locally. We're going to figure something out. We love our city. What are we going to do with 150 kids for 1 week in Dallas? Where are we going to stay? So we are calling everyone. We're calling the DoubleTree to a Motel 6, just trying to stick together beds. And believe it or not, the group that came through was the Hilton Anatole at 1:30 at night.
That's incredible. You did a mission trip and stayed at the Hilton Anatole?
I did. And everyone judged me, and I work at Highland Park United Methodist, so I already kind of feel the judgment from time to time.
Bougie? That's a bougie mission trip.
I
love it so much.
The bougiest mission trip of my life. So I say it was the worst because everything was on fire, and in 48 hours, every outreach partner came through, had work for us. Every group had something to do. I mean, we were everywhere from Dallas Bike Association cleaning trails to the birthday party project to Dallas Bethlehem Center, Wesley Rankin, and everyone really came out. So it was really beautiful. It was terrifying and crazy, and I still can't believe that it was pulled off in 48 hours. Wouldn't wish that upon my worst enemy. But when I was in the lazy river reflecting after a long work day, I was like, it's gonna be okay. It's gonna be okay.
That's extraordinary.
I
And
literally
the Hilton
know.
Anatole for $130 a night. Let's not undersell that.
Yeah, that was
It's
crazy.
1/3 of the
I
normal
think it was
price.
just empty. But I even had a parent call me we won't be sending our child. This is too bougie. And I'm already crying all day. And I was like, ma'am, I called every other hotel. I called the affordable options. I called Fairfield Inn. No one had room.
Right. I tried to put him in an Embassy Suites. I did.
I did. I tried the La Quinta. I wanted the La Quinta.
No shots.
But yeah.
But yeah.
So anyway, that was my big worst moment probably of the past year, but turned into something beautiful because, God, resurrection, that whole thing.
Also because the best stuff comes out of the worst stuff, right?
Every time.
I really loved and sometimes kind of miss COVID ministry.
What is wrong with you?
I know, but our youth group doubled in size literally 6 weeks before COVID started, just because of different circumstances and disaffiliation rumors and stuff that was happening in our local community. And so we had doubled in size, and we're learning how to do youth group with this, giant group. And then the world shut down. And then they're not doing school in person. They're going to do school online. And I just went to our senior pastor and was like, I cannot not do youth group in person. I want to do it safely.
I felt the same exact way.
But I can't expect kids who are logging into school up to 8 hours a day to want to log in for youth group on their Sundays. I would not do that. I have zero interest in spending that much time on the internet. And he was like, okay, figure it out. And so we spray painted socially distanced squares in our parking lot. In your square was the only time you couldn't be in a mask, because we didn't know what all the rules were, even though we were outside, right?
Right.
And we still, they went through a buffet food line. We still fed them dinner, and then they would go and eat in their square, and they would bring sidewalk chalk and bubbles and their own, sometimes sleeping bags, sometimes lawn chairs to sit in their square and decorate their square. I bought a whole bunch of portable fire pits, and we did small group around fire pits in the parking lot. And every now and then I'm like, I really miss it, because our youth band played and spread out, and I preached, and we had people from the neighborhood that would just show up and sit on the periphery of our parking lot. And
very early church.
It was very early church. And the ice cream truck guy figured out that there were 60 kids in this parking lot every Sunday night. And so I had to be like, I will buy all of them ice cream if you don't come until 6:45. Right? If you
after the sermon?
Right. If you come,
course, yeah.
If you're driving around in this neighborhood at 6 when I'm trying to preach, and I think I'm just having a stroke hearing the Mario Brothers theme song in the background, then I'm not going to encourage them to buy ice cream. But if you show up between 6:45 and 7, all of these kids. And so, yeah, it was just extraordinary. And every now and then I have the urge to be like, what if we did youth group outside this week? And so I may start doing it maybe once a quarter. Maybe we'll do outside worship once a quarter. But yeah, I get kind of nostalgic every now.
Yeah.
Very good.
Also the weirdest, though. There's nothing weirder
Sure.
than...
Oh, yeah. The things we did to keep ministry happening were categorically odd.
I had prom at the Hilton
But I was gonna
Anatole,
say-
but not a mission trip.
That's so funny. But I was going to say, same as you, it was interesting in COVID because we didn't give up. I think kids specifically and families really appreciated that. And we grew at the end of it. In youth
Us too.
I think a lot of youth groups did. Now, that's not a dig if they didn't, but it was just really interesting having that experience. And I don't know, at that time, I think that's around when we became friends, not knowing where I could share that because everyone's experience was so different.
Well, it seemed to move to the extremes. Either it died completely, or
And
it
you were having to
managed
totally rebuild. Or
you
best, worst, weirdest.
Best, worst, weirdest. Every time somebody says La Quinta, I have to laugh because White's Chapel, right, was the Boujee church in Legacy, Central Texas. And every time we had annual conference in Waco, John McKellar would make the entire clergy delegation, but not the lay delegation from White's Chapel, stay at the crappy La Quinta at
It's
Baylor.
right there.
Because it was close.
That's extraordinary.
This past fall, I was at Union sitting at the bar of the shop working and minding my business, kind of focused. And a barista from on the other side of the bar slides me a little piece of paper. And on the paper, it says, Charlie XCX is here. And I was like, what? And they looked at me and they were like, and sure enough, Charlie XCX was at the register, which totally wild. You don't expect to see celebrities around, your workspace, but there she was. So very wild. We've had 3 big celebrities come to Union last year. Charlie XCX, Dwight Powell,
Yeah.
Olympic athlete as well.
Yeah.
And RFK Jr. stopped by one time.
Oh, that's right. I
Was
forgot.
very
about
wild.
that.
Yeah.
Well, and don't forget Maxie. You mentioned Maxie. on the
Well,
main
yes.
line.
Maxie's a regular. Dwight's a
Maverick.
regular too. They're BFFs. They would come together. But
See, I gotta confess, as the sports guy, that would be like I gotta act normal. I gotta act
that,
normal.
it is very much that because you want
Right.
them. You want it to be like this has to be chill space because you want them to keep coming. You know.
Right.
Well, and I have always heard these stories. I have never actually been at Union when one
really?
of them has come. Never. And being a big Mavericks fan, it is painful. I will say I don't have as crazy of the stories that Katie does, like hunker down at the shop all the time. I will say, sort of ministry, not necessarily at our coffee shop, but I think one of the more beautiful moments of the last year for me, and is kind of a plug for like have a pastor on speed dial. Whether you're a churchy person or like a spiritual person or a religious person, it does behoove you to have a pastor in your phone that you can call. My wife is a labor and delivery nurse, and oftentimes deals with like the worst possible situations, and was able to in that moment didn't have a chaplain available, but was able to call Katie and give her a ring and get her up there to have those very difficult conversations and provide like last rites and just provide some of that comfort and warmth to a family and some parents that were in need. So like whether you're a church person or not, I think it's a huge blessing to be able to say, oh well, let me give Pastor Katie a call. Let me give my pastor a call, because there are those moments in life that you can't you may not be able to handle, and hopefully we have pastors that can. Or that are have that gifting. So that was one element of not necessarily ministry at the coffee shop, but part of Katie's ministry that I was happy to be not a part of, but to witness.
A witness to. That's amazing. And just in case you're curious, Katie's number is now on the bottom of the screen. If you ever need to call, she's there.
Yeah.
We're not really going to do that. Don't
Great,
worry.
great,
We
great.
don't do that to you. It'll be a 555, whatever.
555.
Right, 555. Very good. It is so incredibly powerful to be able to have, somebody to come alongside in the midst of one of those hardest moments in life. Yeah. I'm thankful. Why don't you tell us one of your best moments in ministry in the unique way that you get to be in ministry?
Yeah. Since joining the conference staff, there have been a lot of great moments, and I feel very embraced by the clergy, and I really appreciate their engagement and enthusiasm. A few weeks ago, I got a call from a clergy member, and they just wanted to talk out a health problem that they and a loved one were facing. And so we were on the phone for, maybe half an hour and a little bit more, and I asked them, I said, well, how do you feel right now? What's coming up for you? And they said, it was just so nice to have someone to talk to and talk this out with and make a plan. And I really appreciate them sharing that with me. And I just felt so kind of humbled because I really didn't do anything. We just listened, sketched out a few things, maybe a few practical tips. But just that they felt that they could call me and share and be relieved of some of what they were experiencing. It just really humbled me. And that's probably my best moment in ministry as a faith community nurse in 2025.
Very good. That's awesome. That presence matters in so many different ways and spaces.
So when I first came to the village, folk in the village did their research. They found out, they called family and friends from Houston, and the reputation that preceded me was Pastor Keith really does love people. He really does engage people. He wants to know, he cares. So I came in the door, and one of the things that I did was go through each name that was on the current roll. One of my mentors once told me, if you care enough, you'll remember a person's name. So try to remember as many as possible. I fail all the time. But I went through the names, and Karen, who is the church administrator, I asked her about this one particular man, and she was like, oh, his name is Melvin. He's moved to a different city. right? So I was doing an audit. And because I'm not from here, I don't know all the cities and I don't realize how close they are. So you say to me, a different city, I'm thinking 3 hours away. Right. Like, oh, okay. Keep going. So about a month later, I get a call from somebody and says, how is it that you've been here a month and you haven't gone to visit Melvin in the nursing home? And I was like, well, as much as I would love to, I can't just go to another city. He was like, Pastor, that's 35 minutes away. Oh. So I had a member, God bless him, who was 35 minutes away and was wondering, when is the new pastor going to at least reach out to me? When here I am trying to get him off the roll. So the best moment, now that was the worst, turns into the best moment. I go and see him immediately, and I walk through the door and I introduce myself, and he starts to cry. He said, I thought my church forgot about me. Man, and so we sat there for 15 minutes crying.
Yeah.
After he cussed me out, and I won't use that language, PG, we laughed, we joked, and so I go see him every month, make sure we sit, and I spend 2 hours, don't tell the church, just hanging out with Melvin. Yeah. So, amen. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
There's a lot of cities in Dallas-Fort Worth.
I'm learning. You named really two, and I'm like, okay, I got to go visit these two cities. I've never even heard of them. And now we're the Horizon Conference. It's almost like if you don't go see some of your brothers and sisters in these other areas, you're just terrible.
At 35 minutes? That's where you're stopping?
Yikes.
We're not going to ask Stacey how many miles she's going to put on her car.
No, you're not.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
Is Melissa far? Well,
Melissa's not far, but a part of what I get to do is go see people across the conference, right?
Yeah.
And so this week I've been in Fort Worth. I've been in Paris. When I come back in July, I'll do Lubbock. I'll do the round trip of all 10 districts.
Oh, wow.
And I've got a trip to St. Louis in there for national developers, so it's all good.
Look, it is all good.
It's a lot of miles in my car.
You get to meet all types of people.
I love it.
Man.
I love it.
Jealous. No, not that much.
I'll take you with me someday.
Okay. Deal.
We're really glad Stacey's in this role.
Yeah.
I love this role. So I have a best and a weirdest for you.
Okay.
And these air around Christmas time when we do this, right?
Yep.
So one of the years that Melissa UMC worshiped in the school, we had I'm just going to say quirky member of the church. And she is a saint of the church now. So her name is Winkle. Yes, that's her name, Winkle.
Okay, perfect.
Winkle was the first visitor at my home when we moved into our house. I'm trying to find pajamas for the kids, and Winkle's knocking on my front door. And so, and we had kind of a family rule of like, here's where guests are going to stay in the house. But like, I have no chairs anywhere. So she just walks right on in and had a 5-minute conversation. She went on her way. So I learned to, as quirky as she was, really kind of value those times with Winkle where she would tell me all kinds of things. Like grew up, it was real hard for her growing up and throughout her life. But she told our worship director at the time, who's now at White Rock UMC, she told Tyler that she had always, one of her dreams for her entire life was to play tambourine, to go tell it on the mountain as a part of a Christmas service. That was her dream. And Winkle would come in late to church, about 20 minutes late. She always typically had a Route 44 Sonic drink. She would sit in the front. Her feet and leg gave her problems all the time. And so she often would sit in the front row, put her giant Sonic cup on a chair in the front row, and hike one of her legs up onto the sea. Like that's how she came into worship. And then she would usually leave about 10 minutes before service ended, and she shuffled more than she walked, right? Again, I love Winkle, saint of the church. So all of these things are just things she brought in fully embodying herself. So Tyler says to me, it was a Sunday after Christmas, and it was a pajama Sunday because it was one of those where we're cooking pancakes, we're coming together, our pajamas. He goes, I'm going to let Winkle come sing Go Tell It on the Mountain. And I'm thinking to myself, that's going to be real interesting. So he'd talk to our sound booth guy, my husband, who's also named Keith. And so Keith knew when Winkle went up, that microphone was getting muted because she was going to be right on it. And so you can tell, and we didn't tell anybody else this was happening, but Winkle there was a tambourine in the front row for her. Very last song was Go Tell It on the Mountain. And Winkle, she slowly stands up, she gets that tambourine, she shuffles. So you can think about the cha-ching, 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 cha-ching. You had to go about 5 stairs to get up onto the little stage. stage. Tyler had a spot right by him for her with the microphone, and sure enough, she gets right up on that mic. She's got her tambourine. They sing Go Tell It on the Mountain, and everyone in the church, eyes wide as saucers, right? What is happening? Because we didn't tell him that was a part of the plan. We knew this is a part of the plan.
Right.
And Winkle had the best Sunday after Christmas I think she ever had in her life, because she got to sing Go Tell It on the Mountain and play her tambourine. And it was a beautiful moment for us. And then when it was all over, everybody applauded. We cheered. Cha-chink, cha-chink,
Cha-chink.
cha-chink, cha-chink. Back down she goes. She puts her tambourine on the front chair, and out she shuffles.
And
At
she
the end
left.
of worship, that was it.
Dropping the mic. I'm
Yep.
done. Yep. That's so good.
It was pretty good.
Yeah.
That sounds great. Wow.
How often can we embrace those invitations to kind of presence over the
my
performance side of things? Yeah. Yeah. That's so good.
She also brought her dog into First United Methodist McKinney. So Melissa's connected to First United Methodist Church McKinney. I was in the back room making copies and doing whatever else, because oftentimes I was hanging out because they had stuff and I needed stuff sometimes. And I'm standing there. I've been in Bob and Winkle's home, and all of a sudden Molly, their German Shepherd, is beside me, and I'm thinking to myself, that's Molly. Like, you have that kind of out of body experience of why is their dog standing next to me at the copy machine? And I bend down, sure, and I'm like, hi, Molly. She wags her tail at me and then walks right. She kind of shuffled too. And Reverend Dr. Tommy Brummett comes in and said, "Did you tell Winkle she could bring her dog?" I'm like, "No, sir, I did not." And we just both started laughing. And after we had visited with Winkle for a while, and Winkle and Molly had left, went out to the receptionist at the front. And Tommy has a great sense of humor, and so this all happened with laughter. But he said, "You can't just let people go on bringing their dogs in this church. That's not how this works."
Ask you, how
there
was
was
it?
no option.
Okay.
Oh, she just comes in.
Okay.
Right? Like when
Okay.
she
She's
came
not
into
a
a
permission
space.
asker.
Right.
No, she was out with Molly. Why? She's not going to leave her in the car, Keith. What do you want? Dog's got to come into church.
I get it. I like
I have
her.
to.
You have to.
That's good.
Do you bring your dogs with you?
No.
Okay.
At one point in Melissa, one of our youngest dogs came with me for just a hot minute, but that was it. Just because it was convenient.
I've never seen a dog in a sanctuary
Yeah.
before.
We've chased squirrels in a sanctuary before.
Really?
Yeah.
We had
I've seen animals.
the stray cat get in one time, and the little country church, and the stray cat gets in. And people are chasing it all over everywhere,
course.
trying to. I'm like, just let it chill.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. Leave
the
It'll
cat
wander its
alone.
way out.
Yeah.
The weirdest animal story I've ever had, and I don't know if I've told this one or not, was at Valley Mills in Coyote. My mom was the senior pastor. Those two churches, tiny churches in Bosque County. They had a big chili supper at Coyote every year, right, to support something. This is Carhartt and jeans before Carhartt was a thing. Does that make sense? You know,
Yes.
like good country folks. And we walk in. One of the interesting things about Coyote is that 85% of the crew is good country folks. And then there's like this 10 to 15% that are city people from Waco who bought the ranchette,
Yes.
right? And one of the ranchette people walks in to support the community, but she's got a ferret in a purse, right? Like it's her ferret pet thing.
And half the people in that room are like, "We got to shoot that thing."
Oh, the ferret gets out of the purse,
Oh, no.
and now we're chasing the ferret around this little community life center. And I'm like, this ferret's gonna die if they don't catch it soon, because some good old boy is just gonna pop it.
Yeah.
And thankfully they got it, and it got back
Put
in the
it back
purse,
in
and
the
they shuffled
purse.
back around and got out pretty quickly. But I'm like, somebody's gonna have a ferret skin something here pretty quick if we're not careful.
So in urban churches, we get animal visitors all the time.
Yeah,
They're
yeah.
just not invited.
Right. Right.
Like, oh gosh, somebody get a gun. But, yeah.
So I'm like, a ferret running around, that's,
Yeah.
it may not stay that way. Like every preacher's kid rolls their eyes right there. Everybody knows my dad.
That's the roll right there. She just did it.
Madison, do you want my chair while your mom talks about her best, worst, and weirdest?
Okay.
You're good? Because I got to go get ready for my next meeting. So you can sit in this chair if you want.
Move it.
Yeah, I figured.
Move it.
So, Key, so one of the things we love to do here at PSW is talk about that ministry is a gift, but sometimes that gift comes in lots of interesting ways, right? So do you have like a best moment, a worst moment, or a weirdest moment from ministry that you want to share with us?
I'm going to say it's all of those things, best, worst, and weirdest,
Okay,
all
okay.
in one fell swoop.
That's awesome.
So you remember the Great Freeze we had a few years ago where, so we were serving in Copper's Cove at Grace Copper's Cove. And during the Great Freeze, we had 13 pipes that broke in the church building. And I got a phone call that there was water coming out the weep holes of the church. That's a bad thing. That's a lot of water.
Yep.
So we, eventually could get there, get it all turned off, but the whole church flooded except the sanctuary, which meant we had a huge renovation that we did all over the whole building, including asbestos abatement and rewiring and all sorts of things. It was a huge project. So the first wing we worked on was our children's wing because we wanted to get our preschool back in session for the fall.
Right.
With the whole, that part of the building completely finished. And so it was the night that we were opening for the little children to come meet their teachers. And I got a phone call from my assistant, and she said, "You're never going to believe this, but the dumpster is on fire in the parking lot." And I said, we have a literal dumpster fire in our parking lot. And she said, "Yes, and the fire department's here, and they've put it out, but there's water and foam and firefighters, and the church smells like a barbecue grill, and little children walking in to meet their new teachers." It was not great. It turned out great because the whole church got renovated.
Yeah.
And we opened it back up that following February with it. It's lovely and beautiful. And then I got to move in June.
That's the way it goes.
Yes.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
Brad Slayton, nice new church you have. So
I had 3 straight churches where we raised the money for a renovation or a new building and had it all lined out and ready to go, and then got called that I was moving. And so, yeah. It's joy.
It's a thing.
It's a thing. But
so
a real
literal
dumpster fire.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah, wow, it's right. It was a big
crazy.
wow. I know. What's your whatever?
1,000. I mean, thousands of these things.
The fire one is the.
What did you do on Ash Wednesday?
We burn the palms for
Yes.
Ash Wednesday.
That is a whole project, that burning of the palms.
For sure. And
Just
I got
order
there
them from
and
Goatsberry.
they had 3 years worth of palms
This is not good.
saved up.
That's a lot of palms.
It's a lot of palms. And we had a fire pit, kind of standard Home Depot $100 fire pit, right?
Uh-oh.
And I
That's
thought,
right. Even Madison knows this is a bad plan.
let's set a fire. Let's make a video reminding people, inviting people to Ash Wednesday, but giving some contextualization for,
What is it all about?
what's it all about? What, how are we involved? What are the ashes? Where do they come from? All that kind of thing.
Now
And
that
so-
makes sense, but the other thing did not make sense.
Well, see, I focused on that part that made sense, not on the other part. And so I had the camera on a tripod and the little microphone thing hooked up and the fire pit in front of me. And so I light it. And it doesn't have all 3 years worth of palms on it, but it's got probably 2 years worth of palms on it.
That's a lot of palms.
And at first, it's kind of slow going because there's not enough oxygen. But as it begins to build, we poke on it, it starts to go. And so I turn the camera on, I start talking, and then it just goes whoosh. And there's this 4 foot, 5 foot tall flame coming out of this thing. And you can still see me. And I just keep talking because, clearly this
What are we
is
going to do?
yeah,
We're going to stop.
And then it dies down. And so...
And do you have any eyebrows after?
Yeah, I was actually standing, 4 or 5 feet back behind it. So it, from the view of the camera, you can't tell that, right? But it was semi-safe.
Semi-safe.
So we post the video. And this Ash Wednesday promo video gets all kinds of traction, right? Normally that's if you get 500 views, you're feeling really good.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
But this is church viral kind of thing. I'm this is really good. I must have done an amazing job on this video. No, people are watching to see if it all goes to heck in a handbasket. So several thousand views later on our Ash Wednesday promo video, nobody extra showed up to worship except for the bishop.
Well, there you go.
There you go.
Madison's got to meet the bishop.
Ooh, nice.
She thought his name was the Bush Up.
Oh,
She calls
yeah.
him the Bush Up. Then we were at Ranger Stadium one time while he was there, and he was on the big screen, the KISS camera.
Oh, nice.
Madison's like, "Is that the bishop?" I'm like, "No." And then I was like, "Oh God, it is the bishop." Yeah. Okay, Madison,
funny.
let's lock and load. Sister.
All right.
You didn't know you were going to be on the podcast this morning, did you?
Thank you so much for being with us on Pod Strangely Warmed today. I hope and pray you laughed a little bit. I hope you were inspired, and I hope your heart was strangely warmed. If you've had a best, worst, or weirdest moment in your ministry, in the pulpit, as a lay leader in the church, as a staff member, we want to hear about it. So if you want to, in the comments, share with us a best, worst, or weirdest moment from your experience, please do. It is one of the ways in which we celebrate and embrace this idea that we are in ministry together with each other and with Christ. Until next time, I'm Daniel Hawkins, and this has been Pod Strangely Warmed. This has been Pod Strangely Warmed. If you enjoyed our conversation today, know that you can find us anywhere you find podcasts. On Spotify, Apple Podcast, YouTube, any and all the places, we are there. So if you want to continue the good United Methodist conversation that you've been a part of today, find us, like us, rate us, review us, and share with a friend so that the good news that is happening right here in our own midst can amplify even more.
But yeah, truly, you do need to have an entire podcast about that.
We almost do.
Looking,
Are you still recording?
like, oh gosh.